Welcome to Spiritual Astrology with Allison Taylor-Moseley. Today, we are going to be exploring the astrological energies, transits, and spiritual themes for the week of July 2nd to July 8th. So, this week, Mars in Gemini is very active. Jupiter in Leo stays in a square with Chiron for 6 days. So, let's get into it. On Thursday, July 2nd to the 7th, Jupiter, who is newly in Leo, will square Chiron, who is newly in Taurus at 0 degrees. Jupiter can amplify your insecurities, your weaknesses, and your vulnerabilities when she squares Chiron in Taurus, but can also bring in healing opportunities or a remedy. Chiron in Taurus is where we're healing our relationship to spending, material wealth, your ability to establish peace and harmony in your life, and to live the life you want. Chiron shows you ways to build a stronger inner core strength. What's happening this week that can strengthen your inner core, your self-worth, shift your relationship to spending and leisure, and help you achieve more peace and stability. This is the first and only interaction between Jupiter in Leo and Chiron in Taurus. Now, Jupiter will trine Chiron on December 1st, but Chiron will be retrograde at 26 degrees Aries then. Jupiter in Leo trines Chiron again on January 3rd, 2027, when Chiron is direct at 26 degrees Aries, but then Jupiter will be retrograde. So again, this is the only aspect between Jupiter and Leo to Chiron in Taurus. And so this interaction is going to bring your attention to what you're healing around those Taurus themes of money, your job, your income, how you pay for the things that you want, what you value, financial security, all of that stuff are Taurus themes. So pay attention to the themes that come up, any weaknesses or insecurities around those themes. That can be a good clue as to what you'll be working with while Chiron is in Taurus over these next 7 to 8 years. Jupiter brings in wisdom, education, knowledge about how you're healing. She can show up as an expert or a wise person that you can trust. She brings in spiritual protection and good luck and abundance. And even in a square, you are working with the expansive and abundant energy of Jupiter. So while Jupiter may initially expand your pain when she makes a square to Chiron, it's ultimately happening to show you where and how you can heal. The purpose of the pain is to identify what needs your attention. Because Jupiter in Leo only has one conversation with Chiron and Taurus, it has more weight. Jupiter has a job to do. She's here to help you grow, learn, expand, find abundance. And Chiron has a job to do, help you heal yourself, heal others, improve your relationships. When they meet up in a square, it shows you a point of tension, and then they move on from one another and they get to work. So use this week to tap into healing opportunities that can help you grow and expand. They stay within 1 degree of an orb for about 6 days. But Chiron is going to be in Taurus until September 18 this year, and then she retrogrades and re-enters. After the retrograde, she re-enters Taurus again, April 14, 2027, and stays until May 2034. So the Chiron and Taurus journey is fairly long, 7 to 8 years. And this Jupiter square Chiron might be a preview of what's to come. So look out for that. That is a major theme this week. Now, Thursday, July 2nd, also, Mars squares the North Node at 2 degrees Pisces. Mars is going to square the North Node, conjunct Uranus, sextile Neptune, and trine Pluto. And so this is the beginning of the connections that she makes this week. So locate 2 degrees Gemini, 2 degrees Pisces, and 2 degrees Virgo in your chart. Pisces and Virgo are opposite each other on the astrology wheel. The North Node is in Pisces, the South Node's in Virgo, and Mars is in Gemini, and she makes a T-square to both of them, triggering something you want to say or a choice you have to make. You might have come to a conclusion about something. Maybe you know that something's ended, or you know there's a new direction you have to take. You have to take action to make that happen. Maybe you have to make choices to go down a new path and leave an old path, an old way of doing things. Maybe you changed your mind, or maybe you finally made up your mind, and now you have this problem to take care of. But you're processing the details of something, and that North Node in Pisces wants you to go higher, see the higher message. And even if you don't feel like you have all the answers or the entire plan mapped out, you can feel it in your heart what's ended and what's being released. Maybe your perception of something has changed, or your perception of someone, and now you're looking at them in a new way, or you're looking at your situation in a new way. This is where you bring in that sense of adventure. You need to look at the bigger picture. Maybe more information, more knowledge. Maybe an expert needs to come in. Maybe you aren't looking at the bigger picture. You need to zoom out, go higher, and that can take you in a new direction. That Gemini energy can be very focused on the details, and so can the Virgo energy. But the South Node is in Virgo, and they say, hey, let go of worrying about the details. We're being encouraged to lean towards faith and hope and optimism. That's what the North Node in Pisces wants. It wants you to see the broader picture instead of everything that can go wrong. This is about stepping into a new energy, something maybe a little uncomfortable because we haven't done it before. So be aware that on July 2nd, you may be faced with a hard choice. They could feel challenging or confusing, but don't focus on the details and everything could go wrong. Go higher. Maybe your perception can change. Maybe you're ready to step into a new direction. But with Mars, sometimes in a square, it's like a clash or a tension around the direction you want. And that North and South Node are about next steps. It's about your path. And Mars and Gemini want you to stay busy, wants to be mentally stimulated, get things done. That South Node in Virgo can just be worrying about everything and the details. They want to be productive. But that North Node in Pisces wants you to trust what you're sensing, let go of needing to have all the answers, everything mapped out, and to have faith. So there could be habits, maybe you're struggling to let go of. That mutable energy of Pisces, Virgo, and Gemini wants you to flow and not be locked into anything, be open to a change of direction. And you might feel confused, not know what to choose or what direction to go in. So you need to really tap into your needs, what you value, and go higher. Don't worry. Now that is Thursday, July 2nd, Mars squaring North Node at 2 degrees. She moves forward a couple days later on Saturday, July 4th, and Mars conjuncts Uranus at 3 degrees and 52 minutes. This makes people want to break free at any cost. People can break plans, they can break up, they can behave unpredictably. It can produce excitement, risk-taking behavior, unexpected events and circumstances, recklessness, erratic change. There can be accidents, unexpected chaos and disruptions, violence, natural disasters. People tend to be impulsive and more erratic and argumentative, more easily angered and irritated when Mars conjunct Uranus. Think unexpected action and a desire for liberation. Uranus also brings in flashes of insight, enlightenment, progressive thought, a vision for your future. So be open to random ideas popping in your head, but just make sure to think before you act on them. You might be pulled into a new direction as new, brilliant ideas and thoughts inspire you today. This is a transit that a lot of astrologers have been talking about because it happens in Gemini, and Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini correlates to the USA's history. Because historically, Mars Uranus conjunctions in Gemini are associated with war, especially civil war for us. And it happens over a national holiday on the 4th of July, where there's going to be crowds. And Uranus reflects large groups and crowds. And Mars in Gemini fights with words, and Gemini can be connected to the media. So there can be a lot of people online talking about a specific event or shocking news that can spread. This can get people really fired up, upset, angry, behaving unexpectedly. I personally would not go to any events with large crowds on this day, on 4th of July. I would not put myself in situations where I could get hurt. I would avoid transportation as much as possible. Also, you want to be very intentional with your words and your actions, but also be open to flashes of insight, to downloads, new ideas that can spark new opportunities and new paths in your life. You can make a lot of progressive change under this transit. It's a chance to liberate yourself, free yourself from anything stagnant, and receive messages about your future and where you're going next. So this can be very, very inspiring, even though it is also associated with destruction and accidents. There are opportunities in here to move forward on what's next for you, especially around any ideas, things you want to say. Now, the next day, July 5th, on Sunday, Mars will sextile Neptune, 4 degrees Aries. This is selfless acts. It can inspire people to root for the underdog, take action on things related to humanity. You're helping people that are suffering or supporting people in need. You're more sensitive to the needs of others and want to help or offer assistance. In relationships, it can be a good time to meet people because you're more in tune with how they feel, and that can make it easier to connect and relate. It's got a softening energy. It increases your senses. It increases your mystery and your allure and your desire for romance. It can be a good day to do something that helps you relieve stress, let go of worry. So any spiritual acts are favored, like meditation, Reiki, massage therapy, dancing in your room, being with friends that allow you to express your feelings or your bigger ideals. That Neptune that Mars is sextiling is about to go retrograde. So this is the last message that Mars receives from Neptune while she's direct. So there could be an important theme that comes through that Neptune will work with during her retrograde. Also, the same day, Mars is trine Pluto at 4 degrees Aquarius. So that Mars is at 4 degrees Gemini. It's a very potent spot because she's aligning with that rare minor grand trine, connecting with Neptune and Pluto and Uranus and even Jupiter. Gemini is the information, the news, the data, the details, the message that comes through. Aquarius is what the people think. It's large groups of people, it's gatherings, it's large scale events like concerts, malls, large scale structures that support society like schools, power grids, airline industry, and just society overall, all the working parts and structures that make society. Pluto can be a work behind the scenes energy. So there could be powerful things happening that are not yet visible to the public. And Mars is activating change that's permanent and leads to transformation. So this triggers action, a sense of direction. It could be an important day for making power moves, meeting powerful people, having very important, influential discussions. That Pluto in Aquarius is very forward thinking, and Mars in Gemini wants to get things done. It feels like you could make a big step towards something for your future around this time. If you meet someone, they could play an important role in your life or a very influential role. Or maybe you're ready to navigate an important goal or task that requires you to show up as a leader. You might be tasked with an important project at work or home or within a group. It's also easier to navigate conflict, get people to cooperate, and win people over. Now, in your private life, it can be a time when you make a lot of progress or transform or overcome something really big. Maybe you have to show courage. It can be a time when you tap into more personal power. And in romantic relationships, it can symbolize increased attraction that's magnetic. Increased passion could be a new love connection. So Mars connects with the North Node for direction, in conjunct Uranus for disruption, something shocking, something related to your future. Then sextiles Neptune, because she'll help you go higher. It's a softening energy, brings in a higher message, sympathy, compassion. And then trines Pluto, which empowers you. So there's a story playing out here with that Mars and Gemini and how it aligns with that rare minor grand trine. Now on Tuesday, July 7th, Neptune will go retrograde at 4 degrees, 25 minutes Aries. Neptune is going retrograde for the first time since she entered Aries this January 26. The retrograde allows her to go back over the same degrees that she just traveled over 2 more times. It allows Neptune to revisit what was brought up and evaluate or rework things. So what has Neptune accomplished? Well, she laid the groundwork for your new dream. She laid the groundwork for a new 14, 15-year cycle in your Aries house. And she did it with the help of Saturn, who also entered Aries early this year on February 13. They made a historical conjunction at 0 degrees Aries, which solidified the beginning of your rebirth. A rebirth for the world, a fresh start, and that came with endings. Neptune in Aries signals a change to our identity and how we see ourselves, our self-image, because that's what Aries is about. Neptune connects our ego to higher ideals, religion, spirituality, the occult, our psychic abilities, our subconscious. Other people may just embrace a new dream for themselves. Neptune is that bigger dream, and Aries, wherever Aries is in your chart, is where you're starting something new. And this is where you're being encouraged to go for it, not shrink from anything, to show courage, be brave, redefine yourself. That Neptune in Aries does make it a little harder to see yourself clearly because Neptune creates a fog and confusion, but it's also a new dream and encourages you to let go of anything outdated, anything about yourself in your ego that's no longer a frequency match for where you're going next. Neptune helps you go higher, tap into a higher vibration. Neptune is going to travel retrograde from 4 degrees, 25 minutes Aries to 1 degree, 36 minutes Aries. So she only goes about 3 degrees. And then on December 12th, she stations direct again. So this area of your chart will be reworked with those Neptune themes. So be aware if you have any planets or points between 4 degrees, I would say 5 degrees Aries to 0 degrees Aries. So be aware if you have any planets or points between 0 and 5 degrees of the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, then Neptune will make a square, opposition, or conjunction to those planets and that will bring up tension for you to work through. If you have planets or points between 0 and 5 degrees Aquarius or Gemini, Neptune will make a supportive sextile, and that will bring in support, ease, connection, and the right people. If you have planets or points between 0 and 5 degrees Sagittarius or Leo, Neptune will make a supportive trine, bringing in luck, opportunity, and flow. So you have to look in your chart and see if Neptune is aspecting any of your natal planets, because it will aspect them 2 more times, a total of 3 times. And that is part of your Neptune and Aries story. So overall, this Mars in Gemini is the most active planet. A lot of change in the air and things feel really busy. That's going to be the main vibe. She connects with the nodes of fate and the outer planets this week for more inspiration and motivation around where you're going next. Things are moving a lot faster this week, and it will continue to feel that way for the rest of June, July, and August, because Mars will be in Gemini through August 11. And Mars in Gemini activates that energy of the rare minor grand trine. So very, very strong Mars and Gemini energy this week. Now, Aquarius, Gemini, and Aries area of your chart are working together in that supportive minor grand trine, and that is bringing in support, opportunity, luck, expansion, growth, dynamic change, new developments, surprises, more inspiration, all to help push you into a new timeline. This is a very rare alignment. Uranus in Gemini is bringing in that higher intelligence, that vision for your future, the dynamic change in your everyday life, breakthroughs, enlightenment, a completely new perspective. It reflects change in the collective vision, but also the vision that you have for your own future. And then she's trining Pluto in Aquarius. That's bringing in a new sense of power, influence, transformation for how our society is structured and for various groups that have been marginalized. It reflects change in power and control, both in society and within your inner world. It's how you're transforming. And then both Uranus and Pluto are sextiling that Neptune in Aries, and that's bringing in new leadership styles, new individual needs, new passions, a new self-image, new collective ideals. It reflects a change in cultural aesthetics and art and how that relates to the change in your identity. So we'll be working with that for the rest of June, July, and into August. And it will be an ongoing theme over the next few years. Now, Jupiter, who's newly in Leo, makes a very important connection with Chiron this week, who's newly in Taurus. And that's going to show you where you can find healing, opportunity, spiritual protection, all around those Taurus themes, like finances, your job, how you support yourself. Taurus wants you to be comfortable and stable. And Jupiter brings your attention to how you can achieve that using your talents. But it needs to be a frequency match for where you're going next. So there's a trust happening here this week for Jupiter squares Chiron, where you experience uncomfortable feelings to work through, but it ultimately leads you to a place of empowerment in the future. So anything painful that comes through, any insecurities, any vulnerabilities or weaknesses that get triggered, try not to shut it down when it comes through, and instead see it as a message. These are historic times that we're moving through, and we will look back and see this as an evolutionary leap leading to profound collective change, not just for the USA, for the entire world. We're on the cusp of very exciting change, and that can bring a lot of endings, people grasping for power, fears, paranoia. But if you can tap into your core truth, what's true for you, what you value, something that doesn't waver, and let that be your stabilizing energy, then you can withstand the unexpected change and the ebbs and flows of life around you and not be pulled into emotional traps and energy losses. It's about learning how to flow with the current instead of swim against it. So while there may be things happening around you that you cannot control, you can't control how you feel about it. You can decide if it aligns with your frequency, your core truth, and what you want. And if it doesn't, then it's not something you need to worry about. It's not something you need to absorb or manage. You have control over what information you absorb. You can choose your thoughts. You can slow down and make those choices, live more intentionally and more consciously. And that'll help you feel more stable when things are unstable and unpredictable. And they will be for the next at least 7 years. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for joining me today. Please share this post with anyone you feel would benefit from this message. And I will see you next week. Take care.